Hey, what's up everybody and welcome back to News Dose, and I hope everybody had a great, fantastic weekend. I mean, did anybody see Dak Prescott's game-winning touchdown pass? I mean, sure, it might have been for the wrong team and everything, but hey, it sure made me feel very, very good. Fly Eagles fly. Anyways, though, we do have several things to get into today, including a cheaper alternative for Xbox Game Pass. I mean, here's a service that already has the community buzzing that it's the undeniable king when it comes to the best deal in gaming. But even then, Microsoft is still looking for other, more affordable ways to get more people into their subscription. So we're going to talk about that today, as well as a surprising release over the weekend that's causing some controversy online. As always, though, of course, we do have other things to get into as well. So without a further ado, let's just go and jump right into it, starting off with High on Life. Of course, this game released last week, but one thing that I've started to notice online is that there does appear to be a disparity in opinions when it comes to fans and critics. It just seems like it's another one of those games that a lot of fans really enjoy, despite middling reviews from critics. I mean, we just saw this happen last month with Sonic Frontiers as well, where fans were just absolutely glowing about how good that game is, which, by the way, it really is. Go check that game out. But when it comes to High on Life, there seems to be an even larger contrast in opinions. As of this recording, High on Life sits at a 67 overall score on Metacritic with a 77 user score. But then if you look over at Steam reviews, 89% of all users recommend it. Now, that's usually a great sign. Then on top of that, and this is where things get really interesting, fans are also voting with their wallet and playtime. High on Life so far has undoubtedly been a major success as it's topping the charts on both Xbox as well as Steam. Right now, over on Xbox Game Pass, it's eclipsed the mega hit Minecraft as the most played game on Xbox Game Pass. To surpass a game that popular, that's already a feat alone. But the thing is that it's not just popular on Xbox Game Pass, as it's also ranked as the fourth most played game on Xbox as a whole, surpassing the likes of Apex Legends, Roblox, and even Overwatch. Now, those are all massively popular free-to-play games, but even more impressive is that High on Life, for the week ending on December 18th, was the best-selling game. So yes, High on Life so far undoubtedly has been a major hit. And I think that this is just yet another prime example that sometimes you just need to be your own judge. Well, reviews, yes, can be a good guideline, they're often helpful, but they're still not the be-all, end-all. And there are times where they don't line up with fan reception. And I think that that's what we're kind of seeing here. Really, from what I've seen online with this game in particular, a lot of your enjoyment just kind of comes down to whether or not the comedy lands with you personally. And the thing about comedy is that is a very subjective thing. Thankfully, though, High on Life is available in Game Pass, which I'm sure that's one of the reasons word of mouth is spreading so fast. But considering it is a Game Pass game, you could easily check this game out yourself and see what side you fall on. Either way, though, big congrats to Squanch Games on all of their success with High on Life. Now, we also have an Assassin's Creed leak to talk about, being for their upcoming mobile title, Assassin's Creed Jade. Now, of course, they have a lot of different Assassin's Creed games in development, but this is the one set in China, which, I mean, I actually think that that's a very interesting setting. Though, of course, there are those questions. How will Assassin's Creed translate to mobile devices? Typically, there's not really a lot of expectations when it comes to mobile games because they oftentimes just appear to be cash grabs. But, well, that's the thing here, because based on some early leaked footage that's found its way online, Assassin's Creed Jade surprisingly looks good. Now, I'm not going to share leaked gameplay on my channel for obvious reasons, but the thing about this game is that it looks like a legitimate Assassin's Creed title. I think that that's kind of enough to warrant some excitement here. I mean, sure, I'd still go into this game with a healthy dose of skepticism until proven otherwise. It is still a mobile game at the end of the day, but based on early indications, I think that this is now a game worth paying attention to at the very least. It doesn't look like some low-quality spinoff is all I'm trying to say here, but rather it appears to be an actual Assassin's Creed game with a similar formula. You got your typical action-based combat, there's some stealth elements to it, and of course all the parkour this series is known for. The thing about all this, though, is that we still don't know if you can play with the controller. The footage leaked, while looks good and everything, visually it looks great, looks like your typical Assassin's Creed game, but however, it of course was using touch controls, and for us core gamers, that's not really ideal. So I do hope that they give fans the ability to play with the controller, because if they do, this could actually end up being an interesting title to kind of look forward to here. If you do want to check the footage out yourself, though, I will leave a link in the description below, and as long as that's not taken down, you can still easily check it out. Let's go talk about Xbox Game Pass, though, because it sounds like Microsoft is making plans for a completely new tier that's actually even more affordable than it already is. I mean, that's kind of the thing here, because Game Pass is already widely viewed as the best deal in gaming, as you can subscribe to its base service for just $10 a month. Now, in my own personal opinion, that is an absolute steal considering all the day one releases that you get on a monthly basis. I mean, for just this month alone, we've gotten games like High on Life and then also Chained Echoes, both of which seems to have a good amount of fanfare online. So it really does pay for itself as long as you do like a good variety of games, or if you're just interested in Xbox's first-party lineup. Really, if you think about it, Starfield coming to Game Pass day one, that's a $70 game. That's already more than half the year's cost of Game Pass alone. But what's interesting here is that Microsoft, in a survey shared online, is asking fans how they'd feel about a completely new tier with some limitations that makes use of ads. Yeah, there's a whole table in this and everything, but Windows Central does a good job at summarizing its details. So if we take a look here, they said, if real, the purported tier would cost $3 per month and provide access to a variety of Xbox Game Pass content with some fairly generous limitations. It would include an EA Access-like vault of past first-party Xbox games with a similar 6-month delay on new Xbox games from hitting the service. Those who access these download-only Xbox games via this tier would be asked to view an ad before the game starts rolling. Now, if what's being described here is accurate, this is an incredibly enticing option. We have seen other subscription services do something similar with success. Hulu, they do it as an example. I believe Netflix is considering this option as well, but I mean, as an extra option, especially if it's just $3 a month, that could bring in a lot more subscribers. I've said this before, but I'm never against more options. If you want Xbox Game Pass as it already is, you have that option. That's not going away. But for those out there that don't mind dealing with ads, again, if it's just $3 to $6 a month, I'm sure a lot of fans out there would jump all over that. I mean, that's a large library of games for a very, very affordable price. The only thing here, though, is that it does mention the idea of delaying new Xbox games from hitting the service day one. Now, I'm not entirely sure if that's just talking about their first-party lineup or if that also includes third-party day one releases as well, such as, again, games like High on Life, you have A Plague Tale Requiem, Persona 5 Royal, games like that, so on and so forth. So that is kind of a question here, as I firmly do believe day one releases are, or at the very least for me, are what makes Game Pass so special. But even then, a 6-month delay really isn't all that bad. In fact, I've actually mentioned this before, as I think that that's exactly what Sony needs to do with PlayStation Plus Extra. Sure, they might not necessarily be on board for day one releases, and okay, that's fine. They have a lot of success with their retail releases, and I'm sure they want to stick with that. But if they staggered their first-party lineup in the PlayStation Plus Extra, not only would they be able to continue to sell their games day one for $70, but I'd be willing to bet that their PlayStation Plus Extra service would reach new heights with ensured staggered releases. So yeah, I think 6-month staggered releases could work for a cheaper Xbox Game Pass alternative as well, while also still giving fans reason to consider investing into their base tier. I think the other big question here, though, is how will these ads work? As pointed out by Windows Central, Microsoft recently patented personalized ads to show in games. So the timing of that is kind of curious, as this could play a part into this new tier here. At the very least, I'd say that Microsoft suddenly seems interested in ads for games, and this ironically might kind of explain why. Keep in mind, though, that nothing is necessarily guaranteed, but at the very least, with all of this news, it does appear that they're exploring the idea of monetizing an additional, cheaper Xbox Game Pass tier. Let me know what you all think about all this, though. Do you like the idea? Or is this a pass for you? I think for me personally, I'm going to go and give this idea a thumbs up because, like I said before, it's just an extra option. And I'm all for making things more accessible. I mean, if you still want that $10 tier, you have that option. If you want to go and get Xbox Game Pass Ultimate for $15, well, you can do that as well. I mean, the only service that I would question, and especially after this, is well, Xbox Live Gold. It's not really offering too much in value by this point. But hey, Xbox Game Pass continues to just innovate here and just be absolutely phenomenal for fans. But again, let me know what you all think about all of this in the comments below. Now, we also got a bit of a controversial release over the weekend, and this was for the Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster Collection. You know, this remastered collection that fans have been waiting for a very, very long time. Where Square Enix, they finally confirmed these games for both PlayStation and Nintendo, just as the ratings previously suggested. It will release spring of 2023 for both platforms. Unfortunately, no Xbox release for the time being, which I'd say that's already the first questionable decision here, alongside several more. We'll get into that just in a second. But, I mean, I don't know. Square Enix is, they're just so strange with what many view as their flagship franchise. You would think, with a franchise this popular, that they'd want to make their games as widely available as they possibly can. But nope, that's not how Square Enix operates. There was already some frustration that these games didn't come to consoles sooner, but now at the very least, Xbox will have to wait even longer, and that's right now an if. We'll see what Square Enix decides to do moving forward. But again, the good news here is that they are officially coming over to Nintendo and PlayStation, which at the very least, that is great to see. I always really felt that the Nintendo Switch in specific was the perfect platform for these games. I know that's where I will personally play them myself. I think they will have a lot of success on the Switch specifically, but Square Enix's questionable decisions here, they continue, because this announcement included the much requested physical edition. And while you would think that that's great news, because, well, it is, this is something that fans have dreamt about, having all 6 of these massively beloved and genre-defining games on one single cartridge. So, what's wrong with the physical release here? Well, Square Enix, they listened, but only slightly. So what they decided to do is that they decided to make these physical editions exclusive to their own website. Now, that's the first issue. The second is that they made the standard edition $75, and because, again, it's exclusive to their website, it also includes a $20+ shipping fee, which is absolutely ridiculous. Then the collector's edition, that's $260, again, with a high shipping fee. Now, even without the shipping fee, the pricing here seems incredibly steep. Though, if you do look at the prices of these games on Steam, it does actually technically kind of line up with those games, and that's why we're seeing this pricing here. So, okay, fine. But still, the shipping cost is ridiculous. I don't think that there's any way around that. That's not okay. But to make matters worse, if you were interested in getting the physical edition, if you're okay with the price and everything, the problem here is that they did a stealth announcement. And depending on what region you're in, the timing of this announcement was not ideal for everybody. For me, as an example, pre-orders went live at 1 a.m. over the weekend. It just kind of came out of nowhere with no preparation involved whatsoever. And even worse is that Square Enix is apparently claiming that it is an extremely limited physical edition. So without any heads up whatsoever, these games sold out in like 30 minutes, while a lot of people were asleep, had no idea that any of this was happening. Now, I'm hoping they'll restock it and everything. They haven't said anything about that just yet, but for the time being, they've completely botched the pre-orders here. Again, this is one of their most popular franchises, period. So you would think that they'd treat it better than this. Make a physical edition that will be a little bit more widely available. Package them together, sell it for $60 across multiple retailers, or at the very least, give fans a heads up. I don't know. It's Square Enix, I guess. The good news here is that these games will finally be available on some consoles, and if you're looking for the digital counterparts, you're not going to have a problem there, but they could have handled this just so much better. Let's go and take a look at the poll of the day, though, where I asked you all, with Bluepoint Games teasing their next game, based on speculation, what are you most hoping it will be? And as you can see here, the majority of you all actually want to see a new IP, with 36% of you voting for that, 31% of you all voted for a Metal Gear Solid remake, and then 26% of you voted for Bloodborne Remaster/remake. So the results here are actually pretty close between these three, which kind of tells me that if any of these three games do happen to be announced, then you're going to be pretty happy one way or the other, which I do tend to agree with that. On one side, with the majority of you all voting for a new IP, I would be kind of curious to see what this studio can do with their own franchise. I mean, they've shown that they are brilliant when it comes to remakes, but I would be kind of curious to see what they can do with a new IP. They have kind of hinted that they would like to do that as well, so maybe, possibly. I certainly think they have the talent there, and I would trust them with it personally. I would be very excited to see what they could do with a new IP. But I do like remakes as well, and I think especially when it comes to Metal Gear Solid, I think that this is a game that deserves the remake treatment. I mean, you're talking about an all-time legendary game here, and if they can take that original PlayStation game and give it the Resident Evil remake treatment with a completely new perspective, then on paper, I mean, it sounds amazing. And really, we've seen what Bluepoint can do. They are technical wizards when it comes to these remakes. We've seen it with Shadow of the Colossus. We saw it with Demon Souls. They're really just some of the best in the business when it comes to remaking games. Now, as for Bloodborne, I love this game myself, and it definitely needs a 60 frames per second update for the PlayStation 5, but considering it is still playable through backwards compatibility, I'd personally go with Metal Gear Solid here, as that, in my opinion, is the much more needed remake. Honestly, though, I'd be happy regardless if any of these games are actually in development, but for the time being, it's all just speculation, fun, and games. Now, I did see some of you all in the comments, though, mention Legend of Dragoon as well, and honestly, I'd be all over that. That's really just such an underappreciated Sony IP. It was kind of like their take on Final Fantasy back on a PlayStation 1, and it could, possibly have the potential of being a major franchise for them if brought back and done right. Now, that's just my opinion, but yeah, I'm with you all here. I'd love to see that one remade as well. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode. But if you liked the video, don't forget to hit the bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.